What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and more SPQR coverage. So you might be wondering why there are two books here in front of you. Well, we do happen to have the revised SPQR edition early here, so we're going to be bringing you guys all kinds of coverage here pretty much daily here as we get closer to the new edition coming out. So we got lots to review. We're going to see what has changed, what has stayed the same, and so we're going to kick off and sort of redo our series here on the different factions and see what all is different, give you guys some ideas for how your force or existing forces might be changing. So we're going to start off with Athens here, and again, we're going to go kind of unit by unit, stat by stat, point by point, and see what's different here for you guys. So we're primarily going to focus on the new one, and I'm going to just kind of read along here for you guys and mention what has changed. So again, lots of little changes coming to the game here, subtle ones, but hopefully overall great improvements. So the Greek rule here for the Athenians, the mediocre archery, that essentially is staying the same. So no big difference there. So again, basically, if an Athenian unit doesn't take a special action to kneel and aim with a bow before a shoot action, it will suffer a -1 penalty to its ranged attacks on top of any other penalty for like long range or anything. So something to keep in mind. All right, on the hero side, so the new Athenian hero starts at 40 denarii, whereas the old one started at 50. Movement is the same, ranged is the same, melee and melee dice are the same. Agility is also the same, bravery, armor, and wounds. So no stat changes there on the hero, but the upgrade costs, or equipment costs, we should say, have changed pretty much all over. So the large shield is going from 5 to 8 denarii. Linothorax is doubling from 5 to 10. Cuirass goes from 15 actually down to 14. The helmet goes from 2 to 6. An arrow apron doubles from 2 to 4. Long spear goes from 5 to 8. The dagger stays at 2, pretty much pointless. Not sure why you would bother kitting out your hero with a dagger, but hey. Sword is dropping 1 point, going down to 4 denarii. That's cool. The bow is also going from 5 to 4. The sling actually goes up 3 points. Javelins, instead of being 2 points each, go to 4 each. And then the horse is a pretty awesome discount now. It was 40 denarii before. It is only 20, so that's actually pretty cool if you want to get some more mounted ability here and leaders here in your Athenian force. So that's probably the biggest shocker out of that one, guys. So again, purchasing a horse is now only 20 for your Athenian hero, down from 40 before. All right, so a pretty cool thing there. So a lot of costs going up a little bit, and a few coming down, but I think the big one here is really, again, if you want a mounted option in your force, just to more effectively lead your cavalry that you do have, that's going to be significantly easier and at earlier point levels for you too. All right, moving on to the cavalry unit. So the cavalry man unit. So these guys were 18 denarii before, moving up to 19. Nothing too bad there. 1 point difference isn't the end of the world. Move, range, and melee has stayed the same, but a big change we're seeing with pretty much all minion units across the game is, whereas most essentially combat-oriented ones had 2 melee dice before, everything more or less across the board is dropping to 1, where then really the truly elite units might have 2, and very rare instances 3. So melee dice is dropping from 2 to 1. Still no agility, bravery staying the same, armor is going from +1 naturally here to 0, although again, there were some issues there with the original book where sometimes the horse was already being factored in for the armor and sometimes it wasn't, so we'll have to go back and double check that. Wounds, of course, staying the same. Equipment, you're still getting a horse and a long spear. And then the other options here. So purchasing a cuirass for them is dropping by 3 points, so down to 7 from 10 originally in the old edition. Swords got 1 point cheaper too, which is really great. Javelins are still staying at 2 points each, and then the horn also stays at 10, and then they still have hit and run as before. So we'll see again in our other videos here, just we're going to cover the special rules, the equipment, everything for you guys. So plenty of new things to check out here. So that's why we're not going to go too in depth on it here. So then we're going to make the change, moving on to the next unit here for you guys. That's our Hoplites. These guys are actually increasing in points, going from 12 to 14. And then basically ranged is staying the same, melee as well. But melee dice, again, dropping to 1 from 2. Still no agility. Bravery stays the same. Armor and wounds. Still large shield and long spear. And then, again, our options here, we'll see what has changed. So Linothoraxes are actually staying at 5. Cuirass is, again, dropping to 7. Just to make maybe that super heavy infantry unit a little bit more appealing. 10 points before was a bit rough when the base model cost 12. Helmets got 1 point more expensive, going to 3 from 2. Arrow aprons also doubled from 1 to 2. You still, here actually before, interesting. So purchase swords for 3 denarii each. Here we don't have that option anymore. It's actually instead replace long spears with swords for free. So that's a pretty significant change. So a swap as opposed to just being able to upgrade into the swords. So it's an interesting change there, being forced to basically give up the long spears and going with swords only. And then having the horn still at 10 points, of course, I don't think that's going to change for any unit in any faction. That just seems to be a good price point for it. And then Phalanx still has a special rule. We'll see how that has changed, if it has changed, moving forward. On the archers side, these guys got 30% cheaper here. So 7 denarii from 10 in the old edition. Let's see, stat-wise, range, melee dice, all that has stayed the same. Bravery's stayed the same, and yeah, everything on the stats is the same. Still just equipped with a bow. Helmets, if you do want to go that route, are 3 denarii. And then, or leather, I guess in the old edition was leather or bronze helmets for 2 denarii each. Here they've differentiated it, so actually no, it's the same, just 2 separate entries, whereas before it was 1, but they're both 3 apiece. Daggers are still 1 apiece if you want to go that route, and swords have actually gotten cheaper for these guys, so that's an interesting option there. So only 2 down from 3, and then we still have the trained archer rule here, so that has stayed the same actually, so very easy there. All right, so then moving on. So checking in with the peltasts here. Let's see what we got. So peltasts have bumped up in points. So these guys have gone from 7 to 10. So kind of an opposite swap here with the archers between editions. Ranged still is +2, melee 1, 1 dice, agility 1, bravery 1, no armor and 1 wound. So same there, javelin and small shield. Extra javelins are still 2 apiece here. Helmets have increased to 3. Swords have dropped a point to 2 apiece, and then the horn's still sitting at 10, and they still have hit and run. So again, we'll double check special rules in a separate video and all that for you guys. Then we move on to the Siloy. They have also gone up in points to 6 apiece now from 4. Still coming with daggers and stones. Stat-wise, everything has remained the same. They still have hit and run, and let's see, replace stones with bows for 1. That has gotten cheaper. Before it was 2, so that's pretty decent there. But 1 point swap seems reasonable. Replace stones with up to 3 javelins for 1 apiece. That has stayed the same. Switch out for slings. That has gone to just 3 points each. So really giving the Reese some cheaper ranged or long range option here with for the Athenians. Daggers with swords for 2. That has also dropped 1 point. Animal skins for 3. Let's see here. So yeah, it used to be purchase animal skins or bucklers for 2 each. Now it is animal skins separately for 3, and bucklers for 1. So and basically giving you the options there for however you want to do that. So pretty decent overall. And then our mercenary list here, let's see if everything has changed. So we still have Athens, Macedonia, Thebes, and Sparta. Very good. And let's see, we still have access to the Cretan archers, Greek hoplites, the Salian cavalry, Thracians. Yep. So all that stuff has stayed the same on the mercenary list. Okay. And then moving on to the heroes of legend. So let's see how things have changed here. So Cleon, we still have him. He has dropped by almost 40 points. So that is a massive drop. He wasn't, I don't think, all that great before. Still really, well, it's hard to say just how good he was. Would he be up there with sort of the elite of some of the special characters before? Not necessarily, but he's still overall pretty good. So I shouldn't say he's on like the bad end of any of the special characters. But anyway, so he's gone from 220 down to 182. Still the same move, ranged, melee. Melee dice is the same. Agility, bravery, armor, and wounds have all stayed the same. Still a level 7 hero. He's got about face, sturdy fighting, divine luck, inspire, heroic rush, mighty blow, pushback, and voice of command. So his talents have stayed the same, but I do know that a lot of the talents have been retooled, so we'll have to revisit those just to see overall like how that shifts his effectiveness. Still large shield, line of thorax, long spear, and sword. So he's got all that. And let's double check and see his lay down your shields rule here real quick. Yep, the enemy must make a bravery check. Yeah, so it's basically still the same there on his special rule. Yeah, so just see if they've kind of reworded that a little bit. Yeah, they just reworded it a little bit, but it's basically the same rule. And then Themistocles, oh my gosh, wow. He is a bargain. Now, he was 150 points, guys. He has dropped to 97. That is massive discount here for these special characters. Still a level 5 hero. Whereas, again, Cleon being level 7. Stat-wise, let's see here. 1, 3, 2, 2, 3, 2, and 5 wounds. So, yep, stats are the same. Let's see, battlefield control has stayed, motivation, shield bash, shield of steel, shield wall, and voice of command, still good there. And still the typical hoplite package here, large shield, line of thorax, long spear, sword. And all of hell with her has also stayed the same. Just checking on that real quick. Yep, that has also stayed the same. So overall, pretty interesting, guys. So lots of little tweaks here for the Athenians. Again, super discount on the special characters. We'll have to see if that's a trend that's kind of continuing with all the other factions here. But again, for now, this is just a quick overview, give you guys a what's up on point values and stats and stuff that have changed. Again, we're going to deep dive into all the factions, see what has changed, revisit all the equipment, special rules, talents, you name it, basically. So lots and lots of SPQR coverage coming for you guys. So overall, Athens, I think, has moved up a little bit in quality here. Again, not just sort of hovering or focusing on the heroes here, which, again, certainly great discounts there, but presumably other factions are getting discounted heroes now too, or at least seeing some solid point drops. So that's probably going to sort of keep everything on par there, but overall just seeing some cheaper options, especially, again, coming back to the basic generic hero, being able to get a horse for 20 denarii as opposed to 40 certainly makes that more interesting in campaign games too, where you can really afford that earlier on if you do want to go that route. Lots of little tweaks here and there. Again, overall minion units decreasing the amount of dice that they're throwing, and more or less other stats are staying the same. But again, that's the major tweak there. A lot of upgrades are also getting cheaper. A few have kind of raised here and there, but overall nothing has like significantly increased. And in fact, most things seem to have come down on points there. It's certainly making for some interesting choices, although, again, coming back to some of the other units here where basically we had a choice before, which I believe was with the Hoplites. So I think the major significant one there is basically instead of being able to just add swords to the Hoplites to give them some more effectiveness if they needed that ability to parry things and stuff before, now we're basically being forced to swap out the long spears for the swords. So it's either or. It's still a freebie thing here, but that's a pretty big difference when we have to make that one choice, either or, as opposed to before we had to pay for it, but at least we had both options with spears and swords. So now, again, being forced into that choice is certainly going to require some thinking if you do want to basically have sword bearing hoplite units for your force, which, again, being Athens, that's going to be on the better side of your units. So certainly you're going to have multiple hoplite units as your warband grows. Again, you do still have your cavalry, and overall they've gotten, I'd say, better just all around. Overall cheaper, but again, the Greek cavalry here isn't going to stand up to some of the other better cavalry in the game. So anyway, guys, that is Athens real quick. Hit us up with some comments. Of course, happy to answer any other questions for you guys, or just see what you guys think about the changes to Athens. So again, we're trying to get all the stuff out very quickly here before the new edition drops for everybody, so you can kind of get anticipate what's going on with your faction. But of course, if you're seeing this and the game hasn't been released, certainly still would love to hear from you guys and see what your experience has been playing Athens in the new edition of SPQR. So again, drop to the comments, guys. Smash that like and subscribe button. If you guys want to support us a little bit more, check out the description there. There's a link you can follow. Pick up anything from Warlord there, and that comes back and helps support the channel a little bit. So appreciate you guys stopping by, and we'll see you in the next one.